A contract about the maintenance of the Snowbird fleet of jets included a secrecy clause, not to talk about the condition of the jets to the media. Today we'll show you that 2017 contract that foretold the 2018 Liberal decision to cancel the Conservative plan to upgrade the Snowbird fleet. A Snowbird jet crashed in Kamloops this weekend about 1 minute after takeoff, injuring the pilot and killing Captain Jenn Casey, the public affairs officer for the Snowbird team, and the woman who is responsible for much of what we've seen of the recent Snowbirds cross-country tour. It's a tragedy for the team, for Casey's friends, and for her family, and for a nation that could use a break from the constant bad news of 2020. Now, there will be a probe into the cause of the crash, and that may take up to a year to complete. However, whether the crash was pilot error or mechanical failure, that doesn't change the fact that Canada's premier aerial team deployed on a last-minute cross-country morale-building tour at the behest of Justin Trudeau. And it doesn't change the fact that that team deserved much better than the aging fleet they have been made to fly. And the reason the Snowbirds are still buzzing around in Vietnam-era planes is another Justin Trudeau slight to Canada's brave military. Let's go back a little bit. In 2012, former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper started a plan to replace the CT-114 Tudors that the Snowbirds have been using for decades. The jets themselves are circa 1963-ish, so Harper, acting on expert advice that the Snowbirds would reach their maximum service life by 2020, set aside $755 million to replace the Tudors by 2018. But then, tragically, Trudeau was elected, and thus began another decade of darkness for the Canadian Armed Forces. The writing was on the wall for Canada's aerial team in 2016. The Liberals were already looking for a way to renege on that plan to upgrade the CT-114 Tudors. And predictably, by 2018, Harper's plan to upgrade the CT-114s was dead. Trudeau canceled the $755 million upgrade, all the while handing out plane loads of cash to the likes of the CBC or to the UN to fight climate change and gender inequality in other countries, and also cash to convicted terrorists like Omar Khadr. Trudeau instead opted to extend the service life of the CT-114s until 2030, until they had been in the air for 70 years. I guess the new jets were more than Trudeau was willing to give the Snowbirds. Now, 5 months before Trudeau canceled the new jets for the Snowbirds, the government went searching for advice on how best to keep the aging jets in the air. And we have that contract, and it had a secrecy clause. But not just any old secrecy clause. The new maintenance contractor or companies that participated in giving the government advice about how to keep the Snowbirds in the air could not tell the world if the jets were dangerous junkers. Look at this. This is the 2017 request for procurement taken directly off the government contracts website. It's a 55-page document. It's from the Military Aircraft Office, looking for vendors to engage with and offer advice on how to maintain the CT-114 Tudor fleet. The date on the contract is December 28th, 2017, meaning the feds were going to cancel the plan to buy new jets and were instead planning to Frankenstein the jets together to keep them in the air. And this happened well before the Liberals told the world that's what they were really going to do. Let's jump ahead to page 25 for the real details. The CT-114 Tudor aircraft was procured in the mid-1960s to train student pilots. Since the year 2000, the CT-114 has been flown in an air demonstration role by the 431 Squadron's Snowbirds, 15-wing Moose Jaw, and in support of flight test programs at the Aerospace Engineering Test Establishment at 4-Wing Cold Lake. There are presently 25 active aircraft in the CT-114 fleet, 20 at the 431 Squadron in Moose Jaw, and 5 at Cold Lake. So those are the functioning Tudors. Then there are some Tudors that the military aviation mechanics are, quote, cannibalizing to reactivate other Tudors, and there are even more Tudors they say they can never use again. Look at this. A total of 23 aircraft at CFSATE are not considered for future reactivation yet. remaining 10 aircraft at ATESS cannot be returned to service and are part of the cannibalization program to aid with fleet sustainment. And some stored aircraft have been progressively reactivated to replace other aircraft, reaching the end of their scheduled fatigue life. The end of life for the CT-114 Tudor aircraft fleet is currently planned to 2030. And look at this on page 12. This thing has a secrecy clause because the Liberals pretty clearly didn't want the media finding out that the Liberals were never going to upgrade the Tudors until the Liberals finally made it official 5 months later. Canada requires participants to not reveal or discuss any information or documentation to the media regarding the J85 CAN 40 propulsion group sustainment program. Now, that's the program to keep the Tudors in the air during this industry consultative process. If participants receive a question from the media, participants are to direct the media to contact Public Services and Procurement Canada Media Relations Office. Well, the federal government's secrecy clause sure worked because the world didn't find out about the Liberals' plan to keep those Tudors going until 2030, until the news broke, May 2018, 5 full months after this contract for advice took effect. There will be a lot of blame to go around when this is all said and done and investigated. And wherever the blame lands, one thing will remain true and constant. Our military deserves better than the mistreatment and neglect it receives at the hands of the Liberals. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunreid. While the Liberal-friendly media is lined up outside of Rideau Cottage to ask Trudeau the tough questions like, why are you so awesome? We're doing our best to hold Justin Trudeau and his Liberals to account for the decisions they are making every single day. To support the work we do, please go to helprebelnews.com.